Hey everybody, what is going on? It is Jason with the Board Game Mechanics back again with another list. Now, I've been having a good time making lists. I don't know why. It's just fun, something to do. So that's where we are. This list, I want to talk about some games that would have possibly, and I'm going to say with 100% certainty, could have possibly made my top 100 or top 100 to 200 had I played them before I made the list. Now, I made the list a couple months or maybe a month before we started, and I played some good games during that month, and I wanted to talk about some of them. So I think there are 6 games that I'm going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get talking. So the first game I wanted to talk about is actually an abstract game of sorts, and it's called Noctilica or Noctiluca. I'm not sure how you say it, but this is a game from Shem Phillips. He's done all the West Kingdom, Southeast, all that stuff. And what you're doing in this game is you're trying to collect these dice. And the theme is there's like this underwater event where these like really bright, like underwater creatures come out and you're trying to collect them in jars. That's the theme. But effectively what you're trying to do is you're going to be putting a little pawn on one of these brown spaces here. And then you're going to take a dice of a certain pip value from this row or this row. So say I wanted ones. I would take all the ones. I could take all the ones from this row or all the ones from this row. All right. Now, why do I want to do that? I'm trying to collect colored dice too. Let me get a better picture of the cards here so you can see it. Well, that's a cool picture. So I can get them into these different jars. You can see this jar needs 3 orange and 2 blue. So I'm trying to get the proper colors of dice and get as many of them as I can so I can fill up as many jars as I can, because if I complete a jar, it may be worth some points, and it's going to give me some tokens. The more of these tokens I have at the end of the game, it's going to be like a little area control deal that's going on. So this is a really fun game. It's lightning quick. It plays in 2 rounds. Depending on the number of players, you may get, I think, 4, 3, 6, 4, or 3 actions. I think, yeah, it's 12. So 6, 4, or 3 actions. And it's a ton of fun. It's really solid. It's easy to teach. It looks great on the table, and I just have a good time with it. So had I played this before I made my ranking, it might have been on the list. So the first one, Noctiluca. I don't know how you say it. All right, so the next one up is a game that it may not have actually made the list. The more I think about it, the more I have some problems with it. But I did play it in that month, and it's one that could have possibly been on my list depending on how I was feeling when I was making it, and that is My Father's Work. So this is a story-driven worker placement game where players are basically trying to, I don't even know what the theme is. Here's the theme. I'm not going to read it, but you're basically trying to just score the most points. But it's like a Frankenstein's monster type thing where you're a mad scientist. You're trying to build these different creations. You may do it in a creepy way. You may go rob cemeteries, all that kind of thing. But the interesting thing about this one is when you go to certain spots on the board, sometimes you have to interact with the app, and the app is going to do different things. It may give you some kind of thing you have to read and make a decision on your own. And then at the end of that round, the decisions that people made could affect the outcomes of the next round. It may give you certain things that happen when you go to this spot that trigger this other thing that could affect some outcomes. You may have to fight this big baddie or whatever goes on. But at its heart, it's a simple worker placement game where you're going to be sending, you're playing on this board. Let me see if I can find a better picture because that's not great. There's your player board. That's really nice. But you're playing on this like board that's a spiral bound book. And as the game progresses, the boards are going to change. Each round is going to have more spots available, less spots available, different spots available, no spots available. It's a whole bunch of different ways that the story can change based on the story that you're playing and the actions that you take during the round. Now, the reason I say it might not make my list is there's a better picture of the board. Is the worker placement game is pretty simple and basic. Like, think Lords of Waterdeep basic. It's that kind of thing. Go to a spot, collect a thing. It's that kind of level. Then you got your using the stuff you collect to do contracts, which is fine. I love that in a game. So that's probably fun for about an hour. The story in this game brings this game to 2.5, 3 hours because of all the interaction with the app, all the decisions that are made, all the reading that has to be done. So the game, in my opinion, now I've only played it once, I don't feel like the game is as interesting as I want it to be to sit there for 3.5 hours. Now, there'll be some other games that come up that fall in the same line, and I'll explain why I like them more and different. But for this one, I don't know. The game just was not it wasn't as engaging to me as I thought that it should have been or that I'd heard that it was. Now, who knows? It could have still made it in my top 200, but I never gave it a chance because I played it after I made my ranking. But so that's why I wanted to talk about it. I do have some problems with it. I think the production's fantastic. There are things that I like, but there are a lot of things that I don't like. So just wanted to talk about it because it could have been in the running. You never know. So that one is My Father's Work. So this one, I'm probably 90% sure that it would be in my top 100. And for some reason, I felt like it was, but then I went back through the list, and I guess I played it after that initial list making. And this game is called Resurgence, and this is from the designer of Endless Winter, Stan Kordonsky. Kordonsky. And this is dystopian, apocalyptic theme game. But the reason that I like it is, in this game, you're basically pulling chits, your workers, out of a bag. So here's your workers. They're going to be going in a bag. You're going to pull a certain amount out of your bag depending on how strong you built your fortress. And then you're going to be using those workers to do some programming of the actions that you want to take on this little board here. So you can see, they've got 3 locations. Those are the locations on the board, and this is your player board. You're going to take, this is going to be behind a player screen, and you're going to assign them where you want to go, and then everybody's going to reveal. And those are the actions that you're planning on taking to the round. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to collect these different resources, oil, food, and gears. You're trying to build up your outpost here. You're trying to collect medicine and bullets. You're trying to just do all these different things. There's the worker placement board. It's really cool to score as many points as you can. It's a ton of fun. I love pulling chips out of a bag. It's one of my favorite things. So I have no doubt in my mind that this will be my top 100. And this game is Resurgence. Now, moving on from some heavier games, we're moving on to Buffalo. Now, Buffalo makes tons of great games for like $5. I mean, this game's probably $30. Most of their games have top-notch production that's really cheap. And this game's called Penny Black. And the theme of this is stamp collecting. Penny Black was like the first U.S. stamp or the most expensive U.S. stamp or something. I don't know. It's some famous stamp in American history. And what you're doing in this game is you are collecting stamps, hence the theme. And you're trying to get these different stamps on your player board from drafting from these like center tile. Think of Azul if you ever played that game. And then you're going to be scoring each side based on these 2 cards you have. That's the entire game. The stamps are in 5 different colors. They're vertical, they're horizontal, and they're square. And you're trying to score these for this side, this for this side. And if you can collect stars, they'll activate some kind of special ability. That's the game. It's lightning quick. It's 10 rounds, but it plays in, I don't know, like 20 minutes. It is screaming fast. It's super satisfying putting these tiles on the on your board because it looks fantastic. It's a dual layer player board. This is a real stamp that if you had some ink, you could stamp with it. This is how you're going to draft in the tiles. This is a fantastic game. I love Buffalo games. Summer Camp was in my top 100. So I have no doubt in my mind that this game would at least be in my top 200, if not top 100, because it is a ton of fun. I've played it 3-4 times now, and every time I like it. I can't get tired of it because it's over too fast. So, yeah. So I wanted to mention that one that could be in my list. That's Penny Black from Buffalo Games. Now we're getting into the big dogs. This is a game that I played. I know I played this after I made my list. And I played this at this little yearly event that we do with some friends. And this is Return to Dark Tower. Now, I don't have any nostalgia for the old version. I never played it. I don't know anything about it. I'm not normally into story games. If you don't want to hear more about that, go back to My Father's Work. But this one, the app is just kind of an assistant. It doesn't like, I'm not getting bogged down playing in the app. I am just playing the game with the app, like playing some cards and doing that kind of stuff and telling me where to move some monsters. So basically the app is playing as some of the baddies. And this is just a tower defense, beat the baddies type of game, cooperative, where you are playing with the other friend, your teammates, and you're just trying to move around this map, complete these goals before you die. That's the gist. There's going to be the tower's going to do cool things. It's electronic. It's going to throw down some skulls and do all this crazy stuff. And you're just trying to not die, make sure you don't get overrun with skulls, and just do the best you can. The app's going to tell you some crazy story that happens. It's going to determine like strength of monsters and all that kind of thing. And it is just a ton of fun. We played this in about 2 hours. We ended up dying, but at no point in that time did I feel like I was not playing a game and I was just listening to an app. I felt like I was contributing to the game. I felt like I was doing things on my turn, and the app was just basically assisting. If I'm going to play an app game, that's how I wanted to function. So I'm pretty confident this will be in at least my top 200 because it was fun. I actually bought a copy. That's how much I like it. It's sitting on my shelf still in shrink. I haven't busted it out yet because I might wrap it up for Christmas and, unwrap it for myself. But this is a really fun game. If you haven't played it, I recommend it. I don't know what I played. I know the base game and maybe something else, but I only had the base game, and I'm sure that's enough. So, yeah, either way, it probably would have made my list. So I wanted to talk about it. So Return to Dark Tower is this entry. Probably my favorite one that I'm going to talk about today is this one, and that is Tales of the Arabian Nights. Now, this is one that I ran away from like it was the plague. All this game is a story. There is a game. You're moving these little people around, and you're going to a location, and you're flipping a card. But outside of that, most of the game is taking place inside this book. Everything you do is going to give you passages in this book, and then you're going to have some decisions that you need to make on this matrix, like how you want to respond to the action. Here's the matrix here. How you want to respond, what kind of thing you're fighting. It gives you a nice turn order, and you're going to get some skills and all that stuff. But it's just you move your person to a different location, you flip an encounter, and then you read, you use your imagination, and you see what happens. There's dice rolling. It makes it even more random. The point of the game is you're trying to go around, you're trying to get a certain number of story and destiny points that you pick at the beginning of the game. They have to add up to 20, so however you want to divide the two tracks to make out 20. Once you've met that criteria, you have to get back to Baghdad, complete another encounter, and if multiple people are there, whoever has the most skill tokens, I think, if there's still a tie, it's these other cards that are in front of you that I forget what they are. And you are just trying to statuses. And that's what you're doing. It's literally nothing but rolling dice, reading stories, and picking random stuff to interact with that random story. And I've played this game like 8 times, and I love it every single time. I am without a doubt that this will probably be in my top 50. That's how much I like it. And I'm just as surprised by that as all of you are. But I made a trade for it. It's on my shelf. Anytime anybody wants to play it, I will gladly play it. It's a ton of fun. It should not be as fun as it is. But man, this game, I can't get enough of it. Of all these games that I've talked about today, this one is definitely my favorite. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt that this game would be in my top 100. Ooh, that's a nice stack. My top 100 games of all time. And I actually played this before I made my list, but somehow it didn't show up. So I'm kind of bummed there. So this one could have actually been on my list, but somehow I missed it when I was ranking, and that really bums me out. So I had to at least include it on something because I wanted to talk about it again. So here's where we are. So that is the last game that we're going to talk about. All right, so those are the games that could have made my top 100 or top 101 to 200, whatever. Top 500. I think I ranked like 530 games, and some of them are not very good. So next year I'm going to try to whittle that down. But I wanted to talk about these because they're good games. I played them after the ranking with the exception of Tales of Arabian Nights. I just messed that up. And they deserve some love. I guarantee next year at least a couple of these will be on my list. Tales of Arabian Nights for 100% certainty will be on there. And yeah, I love doing top 100s. I love doing the countdowns. And I love playing new games that I know are going to make the list the following year. And that's kind of what these are. So I wanted to talk about them. So thanks for watching. And as always, keep gaming.